Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Standpoint as Nigerians waited patiently yesterday for the decision of the Old Bailey Court in London to decide on the case before it on the former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu and his wife. That decision was indeed made yesterday. The former Deputy Senate President was sentenced to 9 years and 8 months in prison for organ trafficking. The sentencing was done at the Central Criminal Court, Old Bailey, UK. Ekwuremadu's wife, Beatrice, was sentenced to 4 years and 6 months in jail. And the doctor, Obinobeta, also was sentenced to a 10-year term in jail as well. But let's look at all of these issues. How did the court arrive at this judgment? What were the facts before the court that led to this particular judgment? I have joining me via Zoom from the United Kingdom, a lawyer, Evans Ofeli. Good to have you join us. So I'm sure Nigerians are also wondering, everyone who has been following this particular case, can you tell us, as a lawyer, I'm sure you follow this particular story, what were the facts before the court that made it take this, toe the line of this particular judgment?
Yeah, the fact before the court were that Ike Ekweremadu with the wife conspired to, take a street boy from Lagos to the United Kingdom for the purposes of harvesting his organs. The consent of the boy was not sought and obtained, and the boy is not a family member of the convicted parties now. And according to the Modern Slavery Law of the United Kingdom, Modern Slavery Act, 2015, whoever traffic a person, whether a child or an adult, to the United Kingdom for the purposes of harvesting organs will be liable for the said offense. Now the evidence against both parties were overwhelming because during trial, when the court sought to dig, when the prosecution sought through cross-examination to dig into the details of what transpired, and with the oral testimony of the complainant, which is the victim, it turned out that it was just the Ike Ekweremadu and the wife were working in criminal concert with the doctor in question, whom they have arranged to surreptitiously harvest this boy's organ without necessarily obtaining his consent to do so. And that the laws of the United Kingdom does not support that kind of agreement or that kind of arrangement. That is why the penalty and the offense falls under the Modern Slavery Act. And when you look at the judge during the pronouncement, he made certain statements. When he had convicted the wife of Ike Ekweremadu and Ike Ekweremadu after the sentencing, he asked the doctor to stand up, and he told the doctor that there were certain aggravating factors. Aggravating factors under sentencing is issues that led to the increase of the terms of imprisonment, or issues that led to the arrival of the terms of the prison term. One of which is said that the doctor exploited the boy's vulnerability. That is one. His isolation from family and his poverty. Those 3 factors were responsible for why he got a 10-year term. But the wife of Ike Ekweremadu and Ike Ekweremadu, having been involved in conspiracy, and then for Ike Ekweremadu being involved in the actual offense, they both got 9 and 8 months and then 4 years respectively. So this is actually the fact of the case. In the United Kingdom, offenses like this are visited with serious penalty because they go against the human person. And when you have an offense that runs against the human person, it is not taken lightly in the United Kingdom.
These are human rights issues. But let's talk about the several appeals we saw coming from within and outside the country, whether it was the National Assembly, the ECOWAS Parliament, the IHRC, just a lot of organizations calling for leniency in this particular sentencing, saying that, look, this is a parent who is seeking the well-being of their child. But is there a precedent for any time where appeals like this influence the court judgment?
Well, the judge said that he got 51 of 52 appeals, different letters from different persons, including from the former president Olusegun Obasanjo and from high personalities all over the world. Okay, but what appeal does is that it cannot exonerate, a person who have committed an offense. It can only mitigate. Okay, and the judge has said that even the appeals already led to even the mitigation while he's giving the sentence in the manner he did. So appeal will not take the place of the law because, appeal, however persuasive or however well couched to drive settlements for leniency, does not in any way take over the place of penalty. Penalty and culpability must lie according to law. That is why you have such pronouncement. That is why you have that codification. Even under our laws, before sentencing, there's what they call allocutus. Allocutus is where the court allow the lawyer to make certain expression why the person who has committed the offense should not, the maximum penalty should not be given to the person, but by the court. And if you look at what the judge said too, he said that the doctor have no criminal record and that he's a good person. You understand? So the 10 years, because if you look at the act, the penalty for that offense is actually 14 years by the law, but there was a mitigation because the doctor is a first offender. Ike Ekweremadu is a first offender. The wife is a first offender. So that one now takes care of that. Then the appeals that came from personalities all over the world
also influenced the judgment.
Played a role, yeah. But like I said
because
before,
people were wondering if that was interfering with the process or if that was going to have any influence over the process. But, like you just mentioned, it did have influence. But now the question is if Nigerian government should intervene, because I've heard from different lawyers saying there are still options. And I was going to ask you if the Nigerian government should intervene, and if they were to intervene, what are the options or what options are available?
Well, if you are talking about intervention here is tough because Nigeria and the United Kingdom are not in any serious conflict, wherein perhaps we have some of their citizens in our prisons. And then there's the option of exchange, usually when we have some persons who may have committed a likely offense.
A prisoner swap.
Yes, you understand. When we have, and it happens really when you have people who have committed a likely offense or an offense similar to the one committed over there, or there's an international treaty that is signed by both countries to that effect that where our citizens commit this particular kind of offense in your country, and will have your country committing the said offense in this country, this international treaty will be used as a way of prison swap, and they can now have them. But in the case of that reference, I do not think that there are cases of such. Even if there are, the international treaty or the arrangement under which that can be done can still be sought after. But for now, the sentences we have is according to law. Okay, so if there's anything the federal government is going to do, I will call on the federal government to not just restrict it to Ike Ekweremadu, to also upscale it to Nigerians who are also in prison in the UK. A lot of Nigerians are in prison. They are also citizens of the country, just like Ike Ekweremadu, the wife and the doctor. So if government is going to do anything of such, they should extend it. Equality is equity, so that we can now have a robust case, not an isolated case of one person who is in trouble. Then the country is setting the ball in motion to rescue that one person. They should be able to rescue all persons who are in UK prison if they have to toe that line.
But there are also legal options available to him. I understand that, look, just like we have the 3 tiers of the court here, where you have the Federal High Court, the Appeal Court, and the Supreme Court, and that's also available. But if he were to toe that line, do you think that, look, he stands a chance?
Well, there are options of appeal. I mean, the options of appeal are open to him. The lawyers will advise him as to what it is. But if you look at the case in question, even though they pleaded guilty, the evidence against them is overwhelming. There's a victim, there's a complainant there. There are evidence to show that they wanted to use him for the purpose. Okay, I mean, this is even an inchoate offense. That is why they are even getting 10 years. Had it been they have succeeded in harvesting the kidney and they have done before they were caught, we will not be talking about 10 years. An inchoate offense is a conspiracy to commit an offense. You are hashing it, but it has not taken place. When you are caught, the penalty is usually not as huge as the penalty would have been if they had already harvested the kidney before they were caught. Okay? So I think they should make do with what they have. This is the best they can have in the circumstance. Okay? But if they want to go on appeal, fine and good. Sometimes, we should also know that sometimes when people get on appeal, the appeal court can even increase the sentence to the maximum, because the maximum is 14 years ordinarily. And now they got 10 years. So whatever they are doing, they have to be careful. It should not be a fight to escape justice. Okay, it should just be a fight to have justice. Okay, so I mean, but the lawyers in the United Kingdom.
On that note is where I want to ask you, because you just made a point that it should not be a fight to escape justice. And I was going to ask you earlier that, look, in terms of the optics of this, should the Nigerian government even get involved in the first place? Should they be intervening on his behalf?
I don't think the Nigerian government should get involved because if the Nigerian government will ever get involved, they have to get involved in so many, not only just Ike Ekweremadu, okay? If they have to get involved, people will raise eyebrow, people will ask for, because they're going to get involved with taxpayers' money, okay? And it should not be to rescue one person. It should be to rescue others who are also in prison if they have to get involved, okay? But what I think should happen is if they are willing to appeal. I mean, Ike Ekweremadu, the family, they want to appeal. Fine and good, they can appeal. But the consequences of appeal, the appeal also have its own consequences because at the higher court, the judges are going to be looking at it possibly from a different dimension. And there is no way they are going to have exoneration because they can only have a reduction of the terms of imprisonment or an increase of it. And that is the way to go in this case. So they can, it's a game of chance. They want to gamble with fine and good. The consequences will always be there. But one thing I can assure you is that justice in this country is very paramount. They take issue of justice far and above people's status in this country. Everyone is equal. And when they hand down justice, they do it for the purpose of rebasing society, so that society will find justice at the long run, the complainant will find justice at the long run, and the victims will find justice at the long run.
Some people have talked about, and lawyers especially have talked about royal pardon, that now that the president is attending the coronation which has now taken place of the King Charles III, that perhaps he could leverage a membership of the Commonwealth to ask for that royal pardon. Is there a precedent for that? And how is that likely
It's possible. There's royal pardon. The royal pardon, yes. It's just like a prerogative of mercy in Nigeria, prerogative of mercy in our own constitution, which is there. The president can exercise it. But the difference between Nigeria and the United Kingdom is that the Nigerian president usually exercise that power. They don't exercise it judicially and judiciously. Even when the law says they should exercise it judicially and judiciously. We saw how President Buhari exercised it to free the former Plateau State governor and the Taraba State governor, who were both found guilty of an offense of embezzling the state money. Okay, Joshua Dare was got freed, and one other governor in there, and even some other persons who have committed offenses have been. The president had used that prerogative of mercy very negatively, for which there was a public outcry. The difference between Nigeria and the United Kingdom is that the king or the queen will not use prerogative of mercy, will not abuse that authority. Okay, it will only be used where there's a compelling need to do so, and such compelling need must be one that is of national interest. Okay, if it's not of national interest, it's not compelling enough. But it is a prerogative of the king or the queen. The president can approach. I mean, there's no harm in trying. But if he has to do that, like I said before, he should do that on behalf of not just Ike Ekweremadu. There are other Nigerians in prison who also need a pardon to that effect. And that should be what we should do.
For you, Mr. Ofeli, as you look at, you've seen the facts and the evidences of this particular case. For you, what do you think are the key takeaways here for individuals and for us as a nation?
The key takeaways, I think, is this, that we should know that Nigeria, the United Kingdom and some other countries of the world, they don't take their laws, they don't downplay issues of law the way we do sometimes in Nigeria. Okay, here you have to be careful. There are immigration offenses you commit, even without your knowledge, that you'll be banned for 10 years from coming to the United Kingdom. Okay, there are other offenses where you have to serve prison time and all that. So we should be careful in the things we do when we have agreement with people across board on what to do, and especially on medical terms too. We should be careful because you see the issue is this: even the boy that they took to England, they not even have the medical condition. It's not even, the boy cannot even be used in the first place because his own organs did not match with the patient in question. So, that alone shows that it wouldn't even have worked in the first place. But the law is that the intention is what they are looking at. And then the second thing is that Nigerian politicians should try as much as possible. We can't say this enough. Build facilities in Nigeria. These hospitals you are coming to do these operations here, most of the hospitals are populated by Nigerian doctors. So it's an irony. The doctor in question said, he's a Nigerian. So if we have the facility in Nigeria, that doctor could as well be in Nigeria, and they would have look for a local solution to have this problem resolved instead of flying abroad to commit offense and then to traffic someone down there and all that. If we have these facilities in Nigeria, nobody will traffic anybody. They can do it in a family way, and then restore the health condition of the patient. But here, our politicians don't care about the citizens. There's no public health care as I speak to you. There are no facilities in Nigeria. And when we go outside the country, we want to adopt the backdoor system to get our loved ones fixed. And we want to even do that at the expense of the poor, to use someone to do that. Like the judge said, that when they found out that they could not use the boy, the doctor went ahead to look for somebody else that can be used. Such desperation is what necessitated the 10 years term. So we must be careful with the international community when we do things like that, because we are in the news today for the wrong reason. All over the world, people are celebrating the coronation of King Charles and all that. Yesterday, the news broke out. This is what is happening here. We have our own issues to deal with, and a very negative one to that effect. Someone who have been, deputy senate president, who is a lawyer, who should know better, who should know how things should be done, who is well traveled and all that. We are not getting it right at all. Our leaders are not helping us.
Does that rub up, because this news broke whilst the president was already in the UK? Does that rub off negatively on that visit? How does this position the president in? Although Ike Ekweremadu was no longer the deputy senate president, but he's still a member of the Senate. He's still a senator rather. How does that rub off on the president? On the global stage.
Well, under the law, criminal liability is personal. Okay, not like a rub off on the president from the point of law, but from the point of moral and sentiment.
Because this person is a high-ranking political officer in the country.
Yes, it's a high-ranking political officer, and it will not rub off on the president by law, because criminal liability is personal. Even when people join hand to commit an offense, when people conspire to commit an offense, each person must plead to the offense, whether guilty or not, and all that. Each person will have a sentence to his name, not collectively and all that. So it's personal. But when you look at the optics, when you look at Nigeria as a country, okay, and the kind of reputation we have acquired over time in the international space, okay, there is no way to not get at the president. One way or the other, it's quite clear that this offense was committed, and then the person in question who committed the offense have been sentenced on a day where you have a very important global event, or a day to the day you have a very important global event. There's no way to not rub off on the president. And like you said, whether the president can reach out to King Charles for royal pardon, I don't think this event is the right time to do that too. Perhaps maybe in the days to come, if the government is considering that. That is what I think about it.
Well, many say that, look, he's in a good mood at the moment, so perhaps it is the right time to ask. But let's see how things play out. I was going to ask you in just, I have it like a minute left, thereabout. I was going to ask you if there's a possibility for parole for this particular sentence.
Well, I don't really see because see, the sentence is one that came from a strong point of the burden of evidence, okay? And it's such that if you are going to have any other thing to that effect, you are going to have it very tough and rough, okay? But the truth is that we just have to wait and see what the legal team they're going to come up with, the defense team. Whatever they come up with, I think, will be to the best interests of the defendant or the convicted persons now. Whatever it is they decide from the day to come, we are going to see exactly what they are going to come up with. And that will give us direction exactly as to what their thoughts are and what they intend to do to have the convicted persons have solution as regards what they ought to do or what they want to do for the convicted persons.
Always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for breaking all of these legal issues down for us. Lawyer Evans Ofeli, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.